wet, water everywhere, no chance of a dry line. And so the whole situation was a gamble. It was a lottery. And looking there at the pictures, you can see that fabulous stretch of track from Hollywood twisting down towards through the Crane Curves to the old hairpin. The track is dry. It's not a case of a damp track with a dry line. By and large, it's a completely dry track. The cars will be out there on dry weather tyres, and a huge crowd coming in here to Donington today to see what we hope will be a fantastic race. Round 12 of the championship. We have round 13 later today, a slightly longer race, and then the penultimate round will be in Estoril in 3 weeks' time, and then on to Monza for the finals. And coming here to Leicestershire, Robert Kubica is leading the championship by fully 47 points with a tally of 117 to 70. Now the driver you've just seen there, Adrian Valles, is a driver in 4th place in the championship on 60 points. He is the one who could gain the most from this first race, because looking at the grid, his rivals, Kubica is back on the 2nd row in 4th place. Will Power, who's 3rd in the championship, is back 12th. And the big story, Christian Gomendi, 29 cars here, he's starting 29th because he had a misdemeanor in qualifying yesterday when he spun next to some displayed yellow flags and they took away his time. And since the track was drying out very slightly, he lost his only decent flying lap, because the session's only 15 minutes long and you have to really get it right on the head, and he didn't quite manage that. So he has got to work big time. Adrian Valles, first ever pole in the championship. He has got to work very hard to make a good start, get down to Redgate first, get around the corner and hope that those behind shoot themselves down, not by that Spitfire that we see on our screen there, but there's every possibility, because Redgate is certainly a very tricky first corner. And alongside me today I have Karun Chandhok, who has been racing in this championship but sadly now on the sidelines. What do you think of Donington?
It's a fantastic circuit, Bruce. I mean, it's I've raced here for the last 3 years in British Formula 3, so I know it quite well. And as a racing circuit, I think the GP loop that we've got over here, it does create overtaking opportunities. A lot of racing championships these days at this level, Formula 3 or World Series, have often criticised that there's not enough overtaking, but I think the circuits need to be sort of designed to promote that as well, and that's something we have here at Donington Park.
Yes, because we've got the run down to the first corner, always a sort out to Redgate. A few people will try and be brave on the first lap, going down the hill through the Crane Curves we've just seen, but it's a bit tight there. And really, it's you hope you get the 2 corners at the top of the hill, McLean's and then Coppice right, to have a run down to that chicane. And if you don't get it right there, down into the hairpin. If you don't get it right there, well, you're a bit stuffed, really, aren't you? But then coming back up to the final corner to Goddard's, which is another hairpin onto the start-finish straight. In fact, that's where most of the overtaking takes place. Yeah,
absolutely. I think because into Goddard's, I mean, we'll see it as the race goes on, but sort of the drivers go over a blind crest before they turn downhill into the corner, and that you can catch some drivers out there just sort of dive in at the last minute. And the Melbourne hairpin and Goddard's are 2 places, and I think we will see some quite good racing, because like you said, we've got some quick drivers at the back. Obviously Gomendi started from the back, and don't forget, Bruce, he was fastest in Friday's free practice, which was the last time these guys drove around in the dry.
Yes, Friday was beautiful sunny day, and he did a fantastic job. He was nearly half a second faster than anybody else, so he knows what to do in the dry. But does he know enough to overtake 27 cars so he can then challenge the leader? It's a very tough call, but he's just got to make no mistakes, because it's very easy getting caught up in the midfield to be taken off.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, Gomendi, he's been around the block for a while though, hasn't he? He's former Macau Grand Prix winner. He's done so many years of racing in Formula 3 or in World Series or Renault V6, so he's got plenty of experience, done a lot of races at a lot of good circuits. So I think we can expect him to come up the field fairly quickly. How far he'll get up and whether he'll get in the points is debatable. But again, I mean, I think drivers like Will Power will be strong as well. He's starting down at 12th place. I know I spoke to him this morning and he was massively disappointed because he felt that there was potential to be further up the grid. And again, another driver. Friday's free practice was 5th, and lots of Donington Park experience from his 2 years doing British Formula 3, so he knows the circuit very well. And another driver to watch for sure.
But looking at the driver on pole position, he's a young fellow, Adrian Valles. He's never finished higher. Well, he's been on the podium twice this season. He's had a 2nd, a 3rd, and he's had 4th, 5th, lots of 6th places. So he has got to really keep a clear head for Ponce Racing to score that vital first win.
Yeah, I mean, Adrian Valles again was strong last year alongside Heikki Kovalainen at Ponce Racing. I think he'd be disappointed with the season he's had so far. I think he was hoping to have won a race or 2 by now and be further up in the championship. But I think by and large this season has been closer than it has been in the past, and it's going to be a good race. Jaap van Lagen, again, another driver hungry for his first win. Montanari hasn't won since Monte Carlo. Kubica fighting for the championship, maybe going to be a little bit conservative with that big points lead. as we see them pull off now on the warm-up lap.
And just glancing at the grid as we go down, I just saw the name of Danilo Dirani. He's the best placed. We've got 3 new drivers this weekend. One in your old team, which is Matteo Pellegrino. Danilo Dirani, car number 9. He's driving for, of course, Victory Engineering, and Fabio Carboni. He's standing in for Giorgio Mondini at Euro International. So they've had a lot to learn very quickly, and they'll just have to try and be tidy and tight this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Dirani was mighty impressive in the second qualifying. I mean, I went out to watch down at the Craner Curves, and he was so committed down there in the wet. And it showed, he ended up 3rd in his group and 5th on the grid overall, and very good driver. Won here at Donington Park earlier on season in British Formula 3, winning both the races. So knows the circuit very well, likes the circuit. And again, it will be interesting to see how far up the grid he can come.
Well, in fact, looking at the grid for the second race, he's qualified 6th for that. As you said, he was absolutely flying, and that is a massive accolade because it's a big step up from Formula 3 to these cars, a lot more power.
Oh, yeah, I mean, these are fantastic cars, lots of power, carbon brakes, lots of downforce with the ground effects. So especially in the high speed, and, to have your first qualifying session in the wet, in your first race weekend, and then get in the top 6, it's, it is a fairly staggering effort, really.
And again, just to reiterate, the fact those sessions are only 15 minutes long, and some of them were broken up by safety car periods, because of course in that wet it's hardly surprising people were going off. So he really was very, very focused and very impressive. Tell me more about Jaap van Lagen, starting on the outside of the front row, another driver who hasn't won yet this year, but looked very impressive.
Yeah, Van Lagen, again, another driver with... it looked very smooth out on the circuit. I mean, that's the one thing that I noticed yesterday. There was Van Lagen and Eric Salignon was the other one. Both of them just looked very, very smooth and in control and just very consistent, lap after lap, just getting quicker and quicker. And, Van Lagen, I think he finished 2nd in Monaco, if I'm not mistaken, earlier on in the year. So he's, another driver who's... He's been close. He's had a sniff of the podium, and I think he's in a good position to take the win.
He's had a lot of non-scores, and he's had various placings outside the top 10. He's had an 18th, a 14th, a 13th. So really, he hasn't quite stuck one in there, apart from the 2nd at Monaco. So now's his chance.
Yeah, but again, Bruce, what I was saying earlier on, Bruce, as well. This year has been so competitive that you'll find a driver, even your Kubicas or Will Powers, who are your top runners in the championship. One day they'll be in the top 3, and the next day they'll be down outside the top 10. It's just the nature of the championship. It's so competitive this year with so many drivers, all with the potential to win races.
Right, here we have them. They're coming back up to the final corner before they arrive at the grid for the start of the race. Led round by Adrian Valles ahead of Jaap van Lagen. And there we are looking at... Who are we looking at back there? We're looking at one of the Epsilon cars. They've had a mixed time because, as we said, Robert Kubica, who's starting 4th on this race there, is going to be starting the second race from the very back. We'll talk more about that before the second race, but he's got to really make this one count because scoring a win from 29th is, let's say, the outside chance.
Yeah, you can see all the drivers just snaking around trying to get some heat in the rear tyres there. I think the weather we've had this weekend or today is probably the coldest that these drivers have had all season. So it's a bit different for them. Also, they're all starting on new tyres because obviously yesterday's qualifying was wet, so nobody's used the tyres in qualifying. So they've really got to work at getting heat in the tyres to make sure they operate at the optimum temperature on the opening lap. So we see Valles
up close. Very fancy helmet. Quite difficult to differentiate at speed, as I was saying to you earlier. So many helmets are blue and orange and yellow, but someone with a white helmet would stand out. But maybe Valles will stand out because the very penultimate car has just come onto the grid. That was Mehdi Benani we were seeing in the back, the Moroccan driver, just waiting. And they can only see, they can't even fit. There are so many cars they can't fit on the start-finish straight. So there in fact is... that was Tedeschi we see on the right-hand side of the screen, waiting, 3 lights on, and they're off. And who's...
That was Zuber.
Zuber's on the grass. You don't want to do that. Jaap van Lagen straight into the lead ahead of Adrian Valles, who always having a little look down. I didn't think he was far enough forward for that. Let's look out the window. Anybody in the gravel? No, they're back. I was very surprised there. He came from very late to get back ahead of Jaap van Lagen. Going down the hill, look at the lead he's got. Where's Van Lagen gone?
Van Lagen's dropped down, Bruce.
He obviously got pushed wide.
Yeah, he's down into 4th place. Yeah, that's right. And fantastic opening corner, really, from Valles. I mean, it's a shame we sort of missed that, but Valles has really broken away from the pack.
We have someone on the grass there trying to see going it up.
I think there's Zuber again.
It does look as though it's Zuber. So look at that lead. That's a fantastic lead. We'll just get a
trip onto the grass already.
Flip to the split. Yes, got to be precise now. Let's see. The field are behaving very well as they come up the hill through Coppice Corner there onto the long straight down to the chicane. And Adrian Valles, he'd blown the start, but look, he's come away with a lead of about a dozen lengths ahead of Montanari and then Kubica.
He's pulled out 2 seconds, hasn't he? He has pulled out 2 seconds on the opening Will Power and Milos Pavlovic.
Well,
Power's lost the front wing, and that's Pavlovic he's got a puncture.
Yeah.
Pavlovic's got a rear left puncture as well, I think.
Well, I'm not surprised. He was absolutely speared. I don't really know what Will Power thought he was doing there, because if he'd even got in front, he'd have cut straight across the nose of Pavlovic. So that's ruined his race and Pavlovic.
I do think Power was just trying to get down the inside of Alex Danielson, and he sort of took out Pavlovic by mistake. We see safety cars come out.
Safety car, we've had a lot of that today, so we'll be able to gather our thoughts. There's Pavlovic limping in, the front wheel not touching the ground because the rear left, as you said, is punctured.
Yeah, let's have a look out the window. I just want to see if Will Power is indeed coming into the pits to change the front wing. You can see Trevor Carlin there with his hand out with the...
stop, brake, and they've got the new wheels being brought out. And in he comes. Yes, he's got to have a front wing, and he may have a puncture, but they may just...
We'll see there.
No, changing the front right just in case. No, he said keep it on the car. Trevor Carlin just watching over proceedings. The nose is still trying to come off, and we've got someone else coming in. It's
Tristan
Gomendy, who started 29th and last, so he won't be gathering lots of points from this race. Just looking out of the window, he's right beneath us, trying to gauge what's wrong. Not actually much activity there. I think he's switched off. He's decided that's a joke. He's not going to get any points from there. So let's watch the start again, and that was Zuber on the grass, and the grass is probably still wet from yesterday, and he's snaking everywhere. But look, unfortunately, we didn't see that there because Valles was so far behind Van Lagen and just braved it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think Valles just dived into the first corner and sort of just pushed Van Lagen wide. We see they're pulling Gomendy's car back into the garage there, and I don't quite know what happened to Gomendy.
No.
Because
well, there was a lot going on. It was very hard to see. But let's just run down the order as we have it. We've got Adrian Valles, Christian Montanari, then we have Robert Kubica, Jaap Van Lagen, and Pastor Maldonado, who kept out of trouble, so he's running 5th, and Felix Portiero is in 6th place. Now, just complete the top 10, we have Winkelhock, Alex Danielson, Eric Salignon, and Will Power. But of course, Will Power did that in the pit, so we can discount that. We'll sort out the orders next time round. I'm just going to flick through my screens and see Will Power, of course, is not in the top 10, and Thomas Koska completes the top 10. Safety car, the lights are out. It will be coming in as they just come up to Goddard's for the final time. So they're about to be released. There's a massive gap from behind Pastor Maldonado. So the top 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, that's Alex Danielson.
That's Danielson in the green car. You're quite right. So
I don't know I don't know where Eric Salignon is.
What are the rest doing? So here we have it. Adrian Valles. He's cleanly into the lead this time. Montanari and then Robert Kubica. So whoever was in about 9th place was so fast asleep. Thomas Koska. They obviously didn't notice or weren't told that the safety car was withdrawing, so they weren't applying 100% concentration, which is entirely what they need for this. So the first 9, thank you very much, they've escaped.
It's 7 seconds he was behind Alex Daniels and Thomas Koska.
Colin Fleming behind must be just about to sort of try and give him a bit slap round the head.
But to be fair, I do think that something happened there with Eric Salignon, because Salignon was behind Alex Daniels and the safety car was going around. But for some reason, we've managed to lose Eric Salignon on that last lap just before the restart, and that's probably why. There we go, there's Eric Salignon just driving into the pit lane.
Driving into the pits, indeed. I just was having a look out the window to see him. He's at the top end of the pit lane. Well, he's parking up. So now let's concentrate on those who are still out there in the race. And Adrian Valles is leading by 0.8 of a second from Montanari. And Robert,
I think that's Maldonado trying to have a go down
he's
the
certainly having a look.
of Van Lagen. He's going to get a run on the way up.
Is he or not? No, he's got the hammer down just in time. Yeah. But let's see as they come up the hill towards the end of the lap. Van Lagen's covering the inside quite
that's close between Kubica and Winkelhock
and Montanari. Montanari in second place. So again, Adrian Valles is able to... It's very tight for 4th place there. Van Lagen having to watch himself, and Maldonado is keeping just behind him and playing safe. So we will see. We'll just have to watch this. Adrian Valles is leading. Montanari 2nd. Kubica 3rd. Jaap Van Lagen 4th. Pastor Maldonado 5th. And Felix Portiero right on his tail in 6th place, with Michael Winkelhock right on his tail.
Marcus Winkelhock.
I struggled. I was saying Manfred, and I've had all the cousins and the brothers.
You see, I think that was Daniel LaRosa having a little spin at the last corner, but I think Valles is looking good, isn't he? He's driving. He's just hooked up. He's got the car, I think, reasonably where he likes it, because he's able to pull away when the tyres are quite cold and not up at temperature. And he's already broken away a few car lengths from Christian Montanari in 2nd place. With Kubica's just sitting there. I think he's going to be quite happy just to sit there and take the points for 3rd place, knowing that at the moment we haven't got Will Power anywhere near the points, and neither is Gomendy going to score any.
No, this is precisely it. And Adrian Valles, he's now stretched his lead to 1.2 seconds, and then Kubica is just, as you say, playing safe, sticking in behind, and he just needs to gather those points, fully aware that... what are you pointing at there? Will Power at the bottom.
Yeah, well, I think Will Power's just... he's made a couple of places now. I think
he's starting to pick his way up the order.
Yeah.
Obviously, he saved a bit of time under the safety car when he was being changed, but he is, for the moment, incidental in the race. He'll have to get up to 10th place even to score a point, unless he gets the one for fastest lap. But right now, well, that's possible. But we'll have to see. He's got quite a lot of traffic ahead of him, as we're just going to see. What position Will Power's going to be?
I think he'll be down in 20th place, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he was 20th. Will Power 20th, and he's right on the tail of Giovanni Tedeschi. So, on merit, you ought to pick him off fairly soon.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, though, I don't think the circuit has got a lot of grip in it. We see a drive-through penalty for car number 3, which is
Andreas Zuber.
Yeah, Zuber. Well, Zuber was fairly jumps.
Well, he's enjoyed his time on the grass,
he's had a jump start, trip through the grass on the start-finish straight, and then another trip through the grass at the old hairpin. So,
in fact, he's hardly driven on the start-finish straight. He's been on the grass on one side. He's coming to the pit on the other side, but. There we have it. As we can see, Adrian Valles is still easing out his lead ahead of Christian Montanari, and just waiting for the camera to take a slightly wider angle so we can see Kubica, who appears to be dropping back a bit from Montanari now as the front 3 space out, and there's a little bit of a gap back to Jaap van Lagen in 4th place. So we're going to have to see, and car 17 is off. That's Rio Fukuda. I'm trying to work out where that is.
I think that's at Coppice.
Yes, it must be, because the wall is quite close to the outside of the circuit there, at the top of the hill.
That's a fairly sizable accident. I don't know how he's... The wall, I mean, it's quite odd to hit that at that angle.
Yes, you'd normally have the car with the nose pointing to the right, unless you'd flipped it round, but he's in fairly straight on.
Yeah, and that's,
he looks okay.
Yeah, he looks okay. I think he's going to get out of the car okay, but but you look at the pace. I was just about to say, 21.6 there for Adrian Valles on last lap, a new fastest lap. But to be honest, Bruce, I mean, the pace isn't really where I'd expect them to be, because they're 3 seconds slower than they were.
Exactly. Goendi's time was 18.496.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, the next closest driver was Robert Kubica, 18.9, but they've got a long way to go. And how do these cars start behaving once the fuel loads lighten?
It's just more responsive. The cars brake a bit better. They turn out to be a little bit more nimble, a bit more. Just the balance overall just gets a bit better. It's not necessarily understeer or oversteer, but it's just the car just balances up as the fuel load goes down. But again, don't forget that the tyres are going to be going off as well as the race goes on. The tyres that they use in the championship, they're quite soft. They don't really last for a very long time. But again, don't forget, Donington, not very abrasive.
Not very abrasive, and as you pointed out just before the start, it's the coolest conditions you've had all year for the championship, so maybe that will keep some life in them just for a few more laps before those pit stops come the middle of the race.
Well, it's the next race that really we're going to be worrying about the pit stops. I think this one, they're just going to get out there and try and stay as consistent as they can. As we see, Milos Pavlovic has set the fastest lap with a 21.2. Obviously, Milos has decided after that puncture, just going to go out there and try and get the point for fastest lap, salvage some pride from this morning's work.
Yes, pride from the fall. So we're just again looking down the screen, looking out the window also to see where Will Power has risen to. He was 18th last lap. He's still 18th, and now he's chasing after Fernando Reyes. And all along at the front, Adrian Valles is just easing clear of Montanari. In fact, Kubica closed in a little more on the second half of that lap. The gap's half a second from him to Montanari ahead of him, and Jaap van Lagen is 2.5 seconds back on him, so it's stabilising at the front.
I'm just trying to have a look back to see where Danilo Dirani is. Well, because we appear to have lost him.
We've lost him completely. Let's just double check. Yeah. But
I think we've lost Dirani, as we see. I don't know quite what happened to him early on in this race. I'm just trying to see whether the rookies were, because Carboni's moved up into 14th at the moment. So
he's the top of those, and then Pellegrino is 20th.
Yeah. So we'll try and find out what happened to Dirani a bit later on in the race and try and see what happened there. But as we see, Kubica, he's piling on the pressure now to Montanari, isn't he? He's very close. I wonder really what's going through Kubica's mind at the moment, whether... Oh, well, he does definitely want to attack. I was just going to say...
It certainly is. That's not just after you, Claude. That is really tucking in, and his...
Yeah. I was just going to say, is he going to sit back and wait for the, just go for the points? But I suppose with Gomendi and Power out of the points, it doesn't matter to him. It's 47 points in the lead. He can afford to try and move further up. He is a racing driver. He likes to get further up.
No, of course, but don't forget, of course, he is starting that second race from last on the grid. So this is his chance to, well, I don't know how you'd handle it, but I know the element. You're a racing driver. You want as many points as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it depends also on...
where the others are, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also it depends on what Montanari's pace is like. If Kubica feels that he's being held up a lot by Montanari and there is potential to go after Baez and possibly the win, because there's still quite a long way to go in this race.
Oh, absolutely. But he knows the gap between himself and Baez in terms of points is 57 points.
Yeah.
So if he only scores, 5 points less, that's not really going to hurt him with only 5 races left in the championship.
No, but he wants to win the race.
Yeah, I know. I know. So, however much you try and dissect it, it always comes down to that, doesn't it? Well, if he feels it's possible, he's got to go for it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you could see the body language of the driver from the outside. He's not sitting tight. He's just showing his nose to Montanari here and there, just to say, right, I'm right behind you. You make a little mistake and I'm going to be there, sort of thing. You can see he's turning in a little bit early. He's got a little bit of a different driving style. This is something I noticed in Bilbao as well, the last race that I was commentating on, wherein he almost does like a double turn, Kubica. He starts to turn the wheel a little bit and makes, turns into the corner earlier than some others, and then sort of finds the lock on. It's an interesting driving style. Haven't actually seen that before, but it's worked fantastically well for him this season. So you can't fault it. It's just something new that you don't normally see.
But every taxi driver in Warsaw now has that driving style. And he is massive, Robert Kubica. The publicity he's receiving from his success in this championship. Yeah. It was being explained to me last night, and he really seems to be like the country's #1 sporting icon, which is fantastic to have a country right behind you. They've got a very successful football team, not as successful as they were in sort of the 70s and 80s, but he is the man, and this is why this championship has been so successful in promotion worldwide.
Oh, it's a fantastic championship, and we see drivers from all corners of the world taking part in it. I mean, I think as a sort of nationality-wise, it's probably the most international grid you'd find in the world today. It's fantastic. And we see Milos Pavlovic at 20.1. That's a fairly stunning pace relative to the rest of the field.
Yeah, because we've just seen Adrian Valles, who's leading, obviously 20.9, and then 28.8 for Montanari. Kubica 20.7. So so we'll wait and see what he does on his next lap and see if he's into the 19s.
Yeah, I mean, now they're sort of getting round to the pace where I expect them. You see Alex Danielson well into the pit lane there before he turns into turn 1.
Yeah, but look at his lap time. He's so much learned. He must have made a mistake on that lap, a 23.4 near enough.
Yeah.
The others around him are in the 21s.
Yeah, and we see a good battle a little further down the field. I think that's Ryan Sharp in the middle of there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he is the only local driver we've got
He is.
today.
Yeah, he obviously joined the championship from GP2, and he knows Donington, but as a British driver, he doesn't know it as well as most because he spent the last few years not racing in Britain. So the last thing he would have raced here was Formula Renault, I think, in 2002, 2003, something like that.
I mean, I think if you look up and down the grid today, the likes of Carbone and Durrani, Will Power, Milos Pavlovic, they've all come up through the ranks of British motorsport and having raced in Vauxhall Junior, Formula 3, and various other categories. So they know the circuit better than most others, you'd have to say, up and down. But it really, circuit knowledge hasn't hampered any of the top. You'd have to say any of the top 6 at the moment, because this is probably all their first visit. So and Baez again at 20.5. So the pace is getting quicker and quicker now every lap, and they've all upped the pace together. Kubica had a little look as they went into Redgate there, but thought the better of it, just backed off. He does want to get ahead of Montanari. I do think he's got the pace to be quicker than Montanari at the moment. Montanari looks like he's under pressure.
I'm just looking out to see if I can see his pit board with him saying, slow down, take the points, but there's nothing of the sort. In fact, they're standing between me and their board, but I just suddenly thought I'd better check on their body language if they're saying, just behave.
I think they've left. I think Robert is quite a cool character himself. I've spoken to him a little bit, and he comes across very reserved and very in control of what he's doing. It seems like he's one of these drivers who knows he's destined to have success in the sport, and he's just a very, very intelligent character, I think.
Yeah, I met him for the first time yesterday. I was very impressed. He's got a little twinkle in his eye as well, a good sense of humour, which I think is always essential in motor racing, because let's face it, there are plenty of lows to go with the highs, and he was very close down into the Melbourne hairpin that time. Let's see what he does as he chases up the hill.
Having a look at Montanari.
Is he looking? No. Oh, well.
Oh, very close. Don't want that nose job.
Anyhow, Montanari now knows
he's
there.
He's got to run down the
straight. Take it down the straight.
They're coming down now. We see Roberts in the slipstream as they come towards the Redgate. does a dummy to the left. Bit of a Mansell and Piquet move.
Yes, absolutely. 1987 British Grand Prix into Stowe. That was entertaining, gentlemen. Let's see what they do down the hill. I think he's had his shot. He's going to have to wait for another turn now as they go down through the Craner curves. Great to drive through, but very hard to overtake through.
Yeah, the next chance is going to be down in the Melbourne hairpin, isn't it? There's nothing going to happen between now and then. But what I think what has come across from this whole thing is that Kubica is very, very strong on the brakes, or either Kubica's strong on the brakes and Montanari's weak on the brakes, because in every braking zone, Kubica just monsters him. He's right behind him.
But I think it's also down to the different roles between the hunted and the hunter. And yeah. I think that Montanari is aware that he really wants a decent result to bring him up the championship table, because he's lying down in 9th and he could gain quite a few places. And he's obviously just not wanting to have it blown for him, and Kubica wants to keep him right on his tippy toes. So let's watch this time. As we see at the front, Adrian Valles well clear. I don't think Kubica was close enough this time, and we won't be able to quite see. But just when they crossed the finish line last time, 0.15 of a second between the two of them for second and third. Very, very close.
It's a little bit disappointing, but I thought Winkelhock would be a little bit closer as well. Because he was third fastest in Friday's free practice, just behind Kubica and Gomendi. So I thought he'd be able to make some ground, but obviously he's I think both the Draco cars haven't quite got the pace of some of the others. Obviously Montanari's got up there, but I think that's just by virtue of the fact that he started further up the grid. I don't think by absolute pace they're as quick as possibly Kubica, Van Lagen, or even Adrian Valles for that matter.
No, I think...
Well, having said that, Winkelhock's just come out to prove me wrong and set the fastest lap of the race.
I was about to interrupt and say, I think he's very fast. He knows this circuit. He's really well hooked up.
Yeah.
But 20.008. Someone's going to go into the 19s.
Right. I should stop talking now.
But of course, you see, he has the advantage. He's running
in free air,
on his own, in clear air. He's not having to concentrate. He's picking all his lines, all his braking points. His concentration is 100%. But he's doing a better job than those around him who also have clear air. And in fact, the next best battle is Thomas Koska in 8th place, with Simon Pagano and Damien Passini right behind him. So we'll look out for that. 8th, 9th and 10th. Koska, Pagano, Passini. This is the
place to watch out. Sorry to interrupt you there, Bruce.
That's okay.
This is where it's going to get interesting again, because they're into the slow section. We see Winkelhock there having just set his fast lap. Sorry, Mr. Producer, we want to go further up to see Kubica. Oh, we see Kubica
on the tail end. He was close, wasn't he?
And we're going to have a look out the window and see what's going on as they go through Goddard to come out onto the start-finish straight. We see that's Adrian Zuber further up.
He's on the start-finish straight that time. He's delayed, obviously, from his drive-through penalty. Now let's see. Montanari coming through in second place, right behind. We have Robert Kubica, not quite as close as he was the time before, but he may yet have another look. Is he going to be more traditional this time, just go straight for the inside? You're right, he really is better on the brakes, isn't he? But does it cost him as he comes down to the corner? No, it doesn't. He's carrying just as much speed as Montanari with the slow-in, quick-out technique.
I think, as I was saying earlier, the way Kubica drives, it's sort of... it makes you think that he's actually going to pass somebody down the inside, because he actually turns into the corner earlier than anybody else. So it's a bit of it's like a mirage, really, for the commentators. You see something rather than what it actually is. But anyway, getting a bit technical there, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, great analysis. But here we have, Jaap van Lagen obviously would like to get closer to them, but he could yet benefit from their little action in the battle for second place. But he really needs to close it up a bit. He's 2.3 seconds behind. But still, it will be one of the better results for Jaap if he pins it down, because as I said before the race, he's had that second in Monaco. He was actually 4th in the second race last time out at Oschersleben. So if he can repeat the 4th, he'll show some good consistency. What are we seeing here?
That's
Will Power. And he's driven off the circuit, flaming at the back. Couldn't see that. That's Goddard.
Yeah, but I think maybe he tried to have a go down the inside of Ryan Sharp, I think, and just ended up going straight on instead.
Well, he's now dropped further down the order, so Will Power down in 17th place. So that's, I think we can say goodbye to points for Will for this race, and he's going to have to get it right next time of asking. Robert Kubica again keeping the director entertained in that battle for second place, and Jaap van Lagen looked a bit closer that time. Yes, the gap's come down to, he took a second off them. He did a 1:19.8. Let's see, and he's been outstripped by Winkelhock, 19.687.
Yep, but at the bottom of the screen, Adrian Zuber.
Oh, 19.5.
19.5. So the pace is getting faster and faster. The slow. I think what's happened is the rain probably washed away a lot of the rubber went down on Friday, and the circuit's just getting, it's just getting rubbered in. It's just getting the grip back into the surface, because it makes a massive difference here at Donington. Being right next to East Midlands Airport.
Oh, all that fuel.
Yeah, with all the fuel being dumped from the airplanes, I think the racing line really gets established as the weekend goes on. It's the small things that you learn when racing in the UK and at Donington again and again, you learn sort of little tricks of the circuit.
Well, of course, the circuit used to have 2 different surfaces, and it changed just after Hollywood, as I found out once as I was rotating down the hill very slowly, like on ice. Good excuse it was, anyhow.
No, I mean, they resurfaced at the beginning of last year, I remember, and when we came here for the opening round of the British F3 Championship, we were just absolutely blown away with how low the grip level was. I mean, it was absolutely staggering. But, I mean, if you look at the last couple of laps, though, Bruce, it does appear that Van Lagen is slowly catching up with 2nd and 3rd place.
Yeah, he's under a second behind them now, just under a second. 0.996, and Winkelhock 19.519, the fastest lap of the race. We'll see if how Zuber responds, but he's, of course, at the back.
Yeah, I think this is starting to concern Kubica, though, because having Van Lagen come from behind, that's not what he wants. He doesn't need further pressure from behind.
No.
You know, all he wants to do is just drive around, score the points, and say thank you very much for another podium. But at the moment, you know, with Montanari holding him up and Van Lagen closing in, and potentially Winkelhock with another fastest lap on that last one, you know, potentially we could have a 4-way battle here for 2nd place, because Winkelhock's not really so far behind.
Yeah, I mean, ever since you said he was driving really slowly, he's driven like a bat out of hell.
I know, it's like they've heard me and then waved the pit board at him or something.
They put the pit board out.
Yeah, but
look at that Lagen there, he is right with them now. Let's see, one little more slip from Kubica, and he is right there. But we haven't talked about Adrian Valles for laps. He's 5 and a bit seconds clear in his own race. This one's in the bag.
Yeah, he's driven really, really well, though, hasn't he? I mean, it's just been lap after lap consistently in the mid to high 19s, just bang, 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 bang. No fuss, you know, no mistakes. I don't want to give him the commentator's curse, but he has just been the class of the field so far, I think.
Okay, his lead is nearly 6 seconds. Then the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th is right with us. It's just gone past, going down into Redgate for the 17th time, beg your pardon, just starting lap 17. And Montanari has actually eked out a little bit. And as you were saying, Kubica didn't want to have to look in his mirrors, and Van Lagen is filling them as they go down the hill.
Yeah, Van Lagen has upped his pace in the last 4 or 5 laps. I think at the start of the race, he didn't really have enough
Someone was
speed.
smoking as they went past us.
Yeah, don't quite know who that was, but you know, as I was saying, I don't think Van Lagen had the speed early on in the race. He's certainly come into his own as the race has progressed, and he's now lapping you know, significantly faster than Kubica or Montanari, and he's just closed right up onto the back of the Epsilon car. As this is now going to get good for the last 3 laps of this race. We see Kubica have a little look down the inside as it turned into the chicane. He's not going to get through at the chicane, as we saw Will Power found out earlier on in this race. But you know, heading down to the Melbourne Loop. Do you think Van Lagen is going to have a go in the last couple of laps? Well, he's close
I'm just
enough.
thinking he's very close now. I still think he's actually rather hoping that Kubica would start attacking Montanari again, so he could then pick his line. But now it appears to be. As I say that, Kubica again, as you said earlier, much stronger on braking, closes right up to Montanari. I was about to say I thought Montanari was just escaping, the battle would then be for 3rd. But now looking at Kubica as he flashes past us, not quite close enough this lap, but he's managed to get back into the tow again.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bruce, one thing I have noticed, all race long, these drivers have been trying to prove us wrong, haven't they? Anything we've said, they've just tried to prove us wrong on the next lap.
I think we're wired straight into their helmets.
As we see, Gomendi's gone back out again to set fastest lap, 19.2 on that last one.
Well, there we are.
That
was his only hope of a point. Just seeing a very interesting move here.
That's Colin Fleming and
Fleming going straight on, and that's Miguez.
Yeah, he's flying across the gravel, isn't he, old Colin? Another driver, product of the Red Bull driver program. They've got quite a few drivers on their books at the moment.
They do, certainly. And Scott Speed, as we know, has just signed up to be the Formula 1 team's test driver, 3rd driver for next year. So he's put his foot in the door for Formula 1.
Let's see, the other Pons cars is Miguez, and have another look at Zuber, who's big flame coming out of the back.
He's trying to entertain the cameraman, but he, of course, was flying, and he'd had the fastest lap before it went the way of Gomendi. So
don't know why we've got a yellow flag at the last corner.
We can't see. It's just let's have a look. Has someone gone straight through? Oh my word! That's one of the Avalon cars. That's a very unusual place to go off.
No, that's the chicane, and he's gone across to where the last corner was.
Yes, that's what I mean. They've gone off to the right on the way in, and maybe the yellow flags means the marshal's attention is what's happened behind them.
Yeah,
that was a high-speed.
No, you don't see those sort of incidents.
You don't.
Often do.
No. Normally, you see the traditional one there is what we saw on the first lap with Will Power down the inside on the left as they ride down the hill.
Final lap now for Adrian Valles as he goes through the old hairpin, back up the hill towards McLean's. it's such a good flow to the circuit, isn't it? It's just nice, smooth
it is.
corners. You just
and as you say, driving on your own, it's not so good. I mean, the corner he's coming up to now, just coming out of McLean's, coming up to Coppice, lovely on your own.
Yeah.
Blind entry, double apex. Not so good if you've got cars on either side of you, because your line is going to be come to some sort of a problem. But a beautiful drive. He's 6.25 seconds clear of the field, coming round for his first win in the championship. And he must be very, very excited. Hasn't qualified so well for the second race. He's 9th, but if he can put this win in the bag, that is very important, and it should move him up, I think, without taking my shoes and socks off to do the counting, up into second place overall.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bruce, without us noticing, Fabio Carboni is now up into 9th place on his debut.
That is a mighty drive. He's not going to be close enough to haul in Simon Pagano for 8th place, but anyhow, let's not talk of him at the moment. The flag is being unfurled, ready for Adrian Valles, an exemplary drive. He recovered from a terrible start to the first race and somehow managed to take the lead in that. Then we had the safety car, and then he managed to make that escape in the second race ahead of Montanari, and he is very, very happy. Just looking at his team, yes, high fives all round, delighted.
Yep, Montanari second, Kubica third, Van Lagen fourth. That's a stayed stalemate then, I suppose.
It is. I think they suddenly got cold feet, and Winkelhock closed right up. He was only just over half a second behind in 5th place. Felix Portero 6th, Alex Danielson's quite a long way back in 7th, and Simon Pagano 8th. Fabio Carboni, the top of the newcomers, in 9th place, an exemplary drive from him, and Kelso Miguez in the second of the Repsol Team Ponce cars in 10th place, so a good race for them. And he was just ahead of Colin Fleming in the Red Bull car that was monstered just a few laps out, or was monstering Mr. Miguez.
Yep, and I think Valles should be delighted with that. I mean, he drove very well all race long. Started at the front, had a bit of a battle with Van Lagen, muscled his way through. It didn't, he was quite determined to win this race today. I think, for him to have, it's quite an important win for Valles. It's been a long time since. Since he's waited for this one.
But he has been incredibly consistent. He's finished every race so far this season, only one outside the top 10. Now, if he can start putting in some top results, he could well, whether he's going to be able to do enough to knock Kubica off the top of the pole, I don't think so. But he's definitely going to get, I would say, have a good chance of getting up to second place. Gomendi only picked up a point for best lap.
Yeah, but I mean, he did that on the last lap with an 18.9, so that was, I think race 2, the pace is going to be very, very quick in race 2, especially with the pit stops that we've got as well. I think the strategy is going to be one to watch. But anyway, more about that later this afternoon.
Yes, I mean, I was so excited. I wanted to bring them forward to the sprint race, but because pit stops, you either love them or you hate them, but they do shake up the order.
Yep.
Certainly keep us on our toes in the commentary box. Let's hope we're up for it.
I think Carboni was one of the drivers of the race for me. He starts 22nd and finished in 9th in your first race. Yeah. I think that's a fantastic effort.
And he's just come up from Formula 3. He's driving a different chassis to almost everybody else. Almost everyone in the Dallara. He's in the Signature, and he's made that work pretty well. So he's had to work hard against the odds this season, and to step up to this, he must be thinking, thank goodness I've got the same equipment as everyone else, and now I can try and race. So he did a good job, and as I say, in the second race, he's going to be starting 6th, so we'll have to look out for him. And who's ahead of him in that second race? Salignon on pole. Much action, if not more, in the first race. Don't forget, we've got pit stops this time. I was so excited, I tried to put them in the first race, but of course, that's the sprint. Karun Chandhok sitting alongside me will talk us through the pit stop tactics, and they could be huge here because we have a very jumbled grid. We have Eric Salignon on pole, who's not really featuring at the sharp end of the championship. He retired in the first race, but right at the back, we've got the man who was fastest of all, Tristan Gomendi, 29th. That was the last race of Robert Kubica, who is possibly, we've been doing our maths, he might stand a chance of clinching the championship here. I think it's unlikely starting from 29th, though.
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. I mean, I think Kubica's got his work cut out, but don't forget, he's not leading the championship by 51 points for no reason. He has been the dominant driver all season by and large. Not significantly if you take individual races, but on the whole he's been more consistent, I think, than anybody else, and he knows how to finish in the points and score those vital points. Starting from the back, yes, he has got his work cut out, but
there he is, in fact, just not even on the start-finish straight.
No,
so he's a long way back.
Well, I think that's going to hurt him as well, starting on the corner, because the cars have a lot of torque, and you tend to get a lot of wheel spin off the line, especially with the hand-operated clutches. You don't seem to have as much feel with them as you would with the old style cars from last year, where we had the standard sort of 3-pedal foot clutch. But even so, I think Kubica, the important part for him is to stay out of trouble in the opening laps, try and pick his way through the the slower cars early on in the race, and then just wait and see if he can go a little bit longer at the start of the race. It's quite a long drag down to turn 1, as we see here.
Indeed, looking over the top of Eric Salignon in pole position. And in fact, that view is the view that the driver I was getting excited about, Tristan Gomendy, has, because he's in 3rd place on the grid. He came into the pits in the last race, and then he went out and set fastest lap. So he bagged that extra point, and every point really does count at the moment.
Yeah, it does. I mean, now obviously with Adrian Baez winning earlier this morning, that's moved him into 2nd place in the championship as well. That battle for 2nd place is shaping up to be quite good between Baez, Will Power and Tristan Gomendy.
Indeed, I'll just run you down the points. Robert Kubica is on first with 127 points, and the points go 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the top 10 people. So Salignon's always picked one up for this race because he's on pole. There's another one for fastest lap. But then we have, as we say, Adrian Valles is 2nd on 76 points. Then Tristan Gomendy 3rd on 71. Will Power, who didn't have the best of opening races after that collision, is 4th on 63. And then Marcus Winkelhock, who went increasingly well after we tarred him with the brush of not going very well, setting fast laps, is 5th on 53 points. And just to run you down the next few who could maybe make up ground, Andreas Zuber, he is 6th on 47. Then come Eric Salignon, well, he's now on 44 because he's got the point for pole position. And Christian Montanari, he's starting to move up the leaderboard. He's next up on 43, and he's sitting 4th on the grid behind Jaap van Lagen. So as we see, Eric Salignon on pole. Jaap van Lagen, who drove a competitive first race, led the first 100 metres and then got a bit pushed wide and never could quite come back from that. But he's 2nd on the grid. Tristan Gomendy 3rd, Christian Montanari 4th. Then Fernando Rios and Danilo Dirani, who didn't complete a first lap in that opening race.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was a betting man, I'd say Christian Gomendy's got to be my bet for this race. He was fastest in free practice on Friday by half a second, and then set fastest lap this morning as well. He's had, but didn't get anything otherwise from it. Didn't score any points, and he's desperate for a good result after, being pretty much the class act of the field so far in any sort of dry running that they've done this weekend. Starting 3rd on the grid, he's in a good position. Even if he can't get ahead of Van Lagen and Salignon going into turn 1 or on the opening lap, as long as he stays there in contention. With the pit stops, maybe if he runs a couple of laps longer, can get a couple of quick laps in while they're getting their sort of fresher tyres up to temperature and up to operating pressures. He's got a good chance of winning the race.
But he also has a good buffer against the drivers immediately behind him, because Adrian Valles is down in 9th and Will Power 6 places further back in 15th. So those two have got to really be very careful, yet at the same time really attack in these opening laps. There's the grid to run down it with Eric Salignon on pole from Jaap van Lagen, Tristan Gomendy 3rd, as we said, and then Christian Montanari. Just Ryan Sharp, the best of the British drivers. In fact, he is the best because he's the only one. He's 8th on the grid. He came to the championship late this year, having started another series, and maybe home ground will help him pick up a good result.
Yeah, we see Adrian Baez down in 9th. He had a strong race this morning, didn't he? He was fairly dominant, got out in front and pulled away. I think it was over 6 seconds at one stage.
The battle behind him really became quite intense between Montanari and Kubica.
Fleming is a lot further back than he would like to be, I should think, down in 20th place. He's been strong for a lot of the weekends this season. I think he'd be a little bit disappointed being so far down the grid. So I think, but he's a good racer. He's a hard racer. I think we can expect some good things from him as the race unfolds. It's quite a long race. We're not looking at sort of a short sprint here. 27 laps is, we're looking at a good sort of 45-minute race. So, and Donington's, it is reasonably physical as well. I think with sort of long flowing corners, they do make a difference. Driver fitness, and I think it's going to be interesting to see towards the end of the race what sort of pace we see from a lot of the drivers, especially the front runners.
Yes, well, we talked this morning about how it's the coldest conditions there's been so far this season, and just looking out of the window, the flags are blowing from the north, but really very limpid wind, so we can discount that. So, and the sky's overcast, slightly broken cloud, but I think we've got what we're going to get, haven't we? Just a grey day, and that's considerably better than yesterday when it was so wet you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it was really a case of welcome to England, boys, for all these European teams who've been out racing at Le Mans and everywhere else where we've had 35 degrees and bright sunshine.
But there was a taste of rain at the previous round at Oschersleben.
There was, yeah. Yes, it was. I think that was fairly torrential rain as well. But even so, I think it's the colder temperatures. They're not really, if anything, they're a benefit to the teams and the drivers because, as I was saying earlier this morning, the tyres are quite soft. And having the cooler temperatures mean that the tyres stay quite consistent all the way through the race. I don't quite know why Eric's sort of doing such a slow warm-up lap, though. You could see all of them sort of bunching up.
He's not really bothering to even work the heat into his tyres.
Yeah, I mean, he's working them left and right, but the faster you go, the more heat you're able to generate in the tyres. And also, especially with the brakes, running the carbon brakes, they need to operate at a higher operating temperature. But not only that, they also cool off a lot faster than the standard steel brakes. So he really needs to sort of speed things up a bit if he wants to make sure everything's up to temperature on the opening lap.
It now looks though he just suddenly decided, but he's only got effectively one corner to go after this one as they round the Melbourne hairpin. Back up to the top of the hill there behind the back of the pit in the paddock, and to Goddard's that final corner, the corner on which Robert Kubica will be starting, because he doesn't, being 29th and last, he doesn't quite fit onto the start-finish straight. So here's Goddard's, the corner we talked about.
Yeah, I think we need to sort of go into a little bit of what happened to Kubica. So basically, after qualifying, the scrutineers found something as a technical infringement on the front anti-roll bar of their car. It was the car's on 2mm Belleville washers in the front roll bar, and basically one of them were missing on the front of Robert's car, which was qualified as a technical infringement, and they put them at the back of the grid. So it's
yes, the team boss was telling me how it's actually about 0.2 of a millimetre was all they were missing, but it's outside the rule book, so a rule is a rule, and
I think it's fair enough. He's it's 0.2 millimetre makes a big difference in one of these cars, so I think that's fair enough. We see, for some reason, I think we've got one car missing.
Hold on, that should be Fernando Reis.
Fernando Reis, yeah, I was just going to say, I don't quite know what's happened to him.
Well, we didn't see anyone pull off on the
No, I mean, I could see Kubica just coming in at the end. I don't know what's happened to Fernando Reis. We'll try and find out as in the next couple of minutes or so, but we'll
fleetingly before the start, I'm going to look out the window and see if he's coming into the pit lane. There is no sign of him, so maybe a circuit camera will pick
see the green flag's gone.
Yeah, so we're ready for the start. Eric Salignon on pole. Jaap van Lagen, will he make another good start like the first race? The answer is yes. Eric Salignon was asleep on the formation lap and again at the start. So it's Jaap van Lagen into the lead. Montanari going down the outside. Ryan Sharp, grass on the inside. That's taken one.
It's taken the front runners out.
Jaap van Lagen is out.
And Montanari as well.
Montanari. So it could even be Ryan Sharp leading and someone else. That could be Ryan Sharp over there. And someone else. That's one of the Avalon cars.
That's Banani, I think. Or
no, that's the other one because he's got a red helmet, hasn't he? So there's Montanari and in the lead with
Adrian Valles.
Adrian Valles in his day of days, isn't it? It's all coming to him. No, he's in second place. So that is Salignon. No, he took the other one out. Let's have a little look.
We'll have to have a look in a minute, yeah.
But this goes to prove it never works on the grass, particularly when it's been very wet for a few days. Poor Jaap, taken out.
I don't know what he was trying to do there, to be honest.
No, that's quite hard to say. Tristan Gomedy was quite fortunate to miss them, and then in came Eric Salignon. Well, obviously Eric Salignon.
I think it's... oh, no, you could say Gomendi collided with Ryan Sharp. That's Ryan Sharp going
because Ryan Sharp had been coming
well.
around the outside.
Yep, it's Pastor Maldonado who's in the lead, ahead of
Well, there you go.
Adrian
Welcome
Valles.
back to the series, Pastor.
Yeah.
And Adrian Valles. And then it's Marcus Winkelhock, and the safety car is out, obviously. Sorry, I didn't say that because it was fairly obvious with so much on and off the circuit. But as we say, Maldonado in the lead from Adrian Valles and Marcus Winkelhock.
Yep. Gomendi somehow escaped all the mess at turn one, and he's ended up in 4th place. But I'll tell you what, Adrian Zuber and Will Powers seem to have moved up significantly because they're now in...
They're in 6th and 7th. Zuber 6th, yeah. Power 7th.
And they started well down the field.
Well done, exactly. Power was starting 15th. They're coming past us very slowly now behind the safety car. Just checking the order as they cross the finish line. And again, it's Pastor Maldonado, Adrian Valles, Marcus Winkelhock, Tristan Gomedy, Danilo Dirani on his first, well, it's his second race, but his first round of the series, and Adrian Zuber, as we said, in 6th. Will Power right behind in 7th.
Yeah, I'm just looking out the window. I could see Trevor Carlin and Harvey Spencer. They've got a bit of a smile on their face, seeing their drivers having moved up from... They started, I think it was down in 13th and in 12th and 15th place. So they've had a good opening lap.
Absolutely, it came to them. But Salignon was terribly slow off the line, wasn't he? And then he.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened to Eric. I think he just completely missed the start, and then it's almost like he got a bit. Well, he just got a bit desperate, didn't he? He got on the grass on the inside, bounced across, and just straight into the unfortunate Jaap van Lagen was.
Now, obviously, it was all going off at the front, but you can forgive us for not noticing what was happening in the back. But started 29th, did Robert Kubica, and he's up to 16th, so he's already picked up quite a few places there.
Yeah, no, it's a good opening lap for him, as we see his teammate, Felix Portero, being wheeled back into the garage.
We're looking under the back of the car, but maybe that was just to get some little wheels in to help wheel it in. There was quite a lot of debris on the track, and Certainly when the field concertinaed through Redgate and everyone was trying to find a place to go.
Yeah, I have a feeling that maybe some damage to the front wing on Tristan Gomendi's car, because he collided with Ryan Sharp as he exited the corner. We didn't pick that up initially, but then on the replay we managed to see that. And
just smoking, someone's smoking as we come down. It's one of the Intervetten cars.
I think that's Daniel Rosa. I think that is Daniel Rosa, as the marshals are now trying to pull away Jaap van Lagen's car. That's a huge disappointment for him, I think. I mean, he was, he was looking forward to this race. He got a fantastic start yet again after race 1.
Yes. He didn't profit from it in race 1, but he looked as though he was going to win this one. So it was very unfair. That's a mauling that you don't deserve.
Yeah. See Salignon's car beached there with front suspension damage. Safety car is going to be out for another couple of hours. We have another look at this one, Bruce. You see, there's Tristan. We've seen that incident, but let's focus on Tristan Gomendi. They're colliding with Ryan Sharp.
Oh, well, that wasn't Sharp's fault, because as we can see, Ryan Sharp in the red car, almost in the pit lane exit. He's keeping out of trouble as Eric Salignon is getting all wrong on the left.
But it's like Ryan Sharp did a good job. He got right across the circuit to the inside. Nothing wrong with that. And I think Tristan Gomendi possibly got a wheel on the curb.
Yeah, because he suddenly snapped right,
just sort of snapped right. We can't see it with the smoke. Snapped right and into Ryan Sharp, which sent the unfortunate Ryan Sharp off into the gravel.
Yeah, at Hollywood, which is the corner that follows Redgate. And that is Daniel
Rosa. Yeah,
we thought he was smoking as he came down the hill behind the safety car there, and they're saying that's enough, Daniel.
Oh, I know that sign. Yeah.
yeah. Next time you're in the car is going to be Estoril for the penultimate round. Still no sign of the lights going off on top of the car, because they've got to remove Salignon's car from the gravel at Redgate. Can't see all the other points that cars went off in the first lap, and there were certainly plenty of them. But now it's the time for the drivers to recollect their thoughts. And Pastor Maldonado must be rather excited with life.
He's from 7th to 1st at turn 1. You know, he's gone up 6 places. It's a fantastic opportunity for him now to try and make the most out of it. You see Valles and Winkelhock. I'm surprised, Gomendi, you can see the damage on the right-hand side of that front wing. So I wonder if he is going to have some understeer to start with, in which case it could benefit Danilo Dirani right behind him.
Oh, there's Ryan Sharp's car, and matching car and tractor. And let's see who the other one is behind. Is that the other independent car? No,
that's Van. No, is it? No, that's Van Langen's car and Salignon. I think the marshals have been more than busy today. I think more than they would have liked, and more than I think the safety car drivers probably led more laps than anyone else today. Yes, he's certainly done more laps than almost anybody else out there. And yes, there we can see the end plate, or something jammed under the end plate of Gomendi's front wing there, as he comes around just behind Winkelhock in 4th place. So another lap in which the safety car just goes past our window as we speak. So Maldonado is starting to clock up quite a few laps in the lead without having to do a great deal for it. And his real trick was to somehow, it was like threading a needle, wasn't it? I mean, to be honest, Maldonado he started on the inside, he just stayed there. And while everything was kicking off in front of him and to the left-hand side of him, he just sat and waited and said, thank you very much, and away he went. But I could see Montanari's rejoined at the back of that, so he obviously dug himself out of the gravel and has managed to get down to the back of that train of cars. I was just having a look at the other movers. It looks like Pavlovich has made 5 or 6 places, but really the Carlin Motorsport duo are the big gainers, aren't they? Apart from Maldonado, they are the 2 big movers up after the opening lap dramas.
Yeah, Zuber in 6th and Will Power in 7th. Just missed the safety car there. I just want to see if it's car number 21 under investigation is flashing on the screen. That's Eric Salignon, which I think is fair enough, because I don't think it's too difficult a case to see that he perhaps was in the wrong.
I think you're being awfully generous.
I'm being very generous, because when you have prima facie evidence like that, it's quite clear. I think he just was obviously a little bit upset about having ruined his pole position, and something just it says strip off. Why is a strip?
Yeah, I do think that maybe Eric, apart from just being a little bit late in sort of reacting to the lights, maybe he just didn't have enough heat in the rear tires as well.
Well, we
did see that there's not enough. He wasn't going fast enough there, but you know, maybe that sort of contributed to the problem. As we see a sign just come up on the TV monitor saying oil at turn 12.
Oil at turn 12, and I've just had a look at the map and quickly counted. I think that's the final corner. I think that's Goddard's, but sometimes... Oh, now someone's just spun. There it is.
Maldonado, that's the leader.
Maldonado had spun out to the lead behind the safety car on the very oil we were mentioning, so it clearly... don't do it now.
No.
You can understand why he wants to do it.
His teammate as well. He almost took him out.
Dear me. Bear in mind...
So I wonder what's going to happen now. He's going past them. I don't know how the officials are going to read that. But Pastor Maldonado has just flown past about 6 cars.
Here we have the replay. We were just saying we think it's Goddard's where the oil is, and there's the oil on the tyres as he accelerates into the pit lane entry.
It's just all going off today, isn't it?
It really is going berserk. And I was just about to say that looking at Pastor's season, it's been one of disaster.
No, he's letting them back through again. He's letting them. He's letting them through again.
He's wise. You can understand how furious he is. He finished 20th and then retired in the opening rounds, got disqualified at the second round, has only just come back.
I could see some teams getting ready for the pit stop, but coming up to the first pit stop window here, I could see KTR stood downstairs out in the pit lane. Also Draco racing further down.
Yeah, and busy. There's one of the cars that came in to retire has left oil everywhere in the pit lane. Obviously, also at corner 12.
That was
so that's being brushed up.
Yeah, wasn't it? I think it was La Rosa who retired a little bit earlier on.
Indeed. And in fact, we've got footage on the screen, of course, of them doing precisely the same. Little handful of cement dust being put down, hoping to mop it all up. So they're out of the way. Obviously, the flags will be waved as the field comes back round to that final corner. Car's still some way back around the lap, gone onto the loop down to the Melbourne hairpin yet. Have to then come back up to this corner, the final one, Goddard's. So these marshals, who as we said have been working very hard, will be... there they are, they're running, the cars are clear, they've been given the warning, get back off. We can see the yellow flag and the yellow and red oil flag, warning flag, just in the background at the marshals post there. And let's hope this time everyone has learned.
I've just seen Epsilon come out in the pit lane as well, so with Portero having retired, I should think that's for Robert Kubica. Which I'm not sure if that's really that's probably a good move, because get in there, get some good tyres on, free air, do a few quick laps, because at the moment I can only see otherwise KTR in the pit lane. Draco have gone back in, so it could be a good move here for a couple of the drivers to make a quick pit stop.
So just to reiterate, with Pastor Maldonado's disaster there, Adrian Valles, the winner of the opening round, is now in the lead of the second race. So good day for him. Marcus Winkelhock third, second, Tristan Gomendi third, Danilo Dirani on his first meeting in the championship up to fourth, Adrian Zuma fifth, and Carlin's day gets better and better as Will Power is now sixth.
This could work out quite well for Adrian Valles, because if you remember, he was quick than most of the others in cold tyres yesterday. Sorry, earlier this morning. You know, after every safety car restart, as well as sort of early on in the race, he was able to make the break, which could benefit him now, because having done so many laps under the safety car, yes, they are weaving around to generate heat. It's not quite going to be the same level of heat that's being generated as at racing speeds. So it'll be interesting to see if he can sort of pull away just as he did earlier on today.
But last time he did it, he had different drivers behind him. This time he's got Winkelhock and then Gomendi. Gomendi is desperate to score points. So how do you read that one when the restart comes to town?
I mean, Winkelhock and Gomendi were both, obviously Gomendi I think is going to be, as I said earlier on, he is the favourite for me. I'm still a bit concerned about that front wing damage, though. I mean, I can still see a bit hanging off to the side. Could just be just a bit of plastic from the running strip. But again, Winkelhock wasn't mighty quick early on in the race. Once the race sort of unfolded and got going, then he was as fast, if not faster, than anybody else.
Well, KTR, I think, are definitely going to bring their car in. Right, the last lap of the safety car. I wonder if they're cursing about that, as the cars go round the Melbourne hairpin for the last time behind the safety car before battle is rejoined.
No, not really, because you're not allowed to pit under the safety car in the championship.
That's why I've got you here, the expert.
So that's why they're waiting. As soon as the safety car pulls in, they're hoping to get a few laps of clean air, as we see. Yep, Gomendi's...
But can he not do now?
Now I can see he's gone in because safety car's pulled in. So
exactly.
Gomendi's in the pits now at the moment.
Could be timed to perfection, perhaps. And just looking down, look, battle for third place.
So that's Zuba. Zuba's gone down the inside of Danilo Dirani.
Yep.
As we see, Gomendi's just pulled in right underneath us. He's changing the front tyres on that car. which is fairly standard for most of the drivers. Robert Kubica.
Robert Kubica
well,
now.
Just as we were
showing their experience.
About earlier. Yeah. So this could
tidy pit stop, doesn't run over any of his mechanics, and Tristan Gomendi rejoins the race, and in comes car number 1, that's Carboni's
been in, and so is Fleming and Pellegrino.
Okay, so about half a dozen, maybe 8 cars have come in, so we'll have to see how the order settles down. Have they played the trump card? Have they got it right? But for the moment, Valles leads from Winkelhock, Danilo Dirani up to 3rd, Zuber 4th, Will Power 5th, and Tristan Gomendi, well, on the screens he's 6th, but of course he isn't because he came into the pits.
The one, you should say Zuber weaving about, trying to generate heat in the tyres. Obviously, that's what I was saying earlier. Was it Will Power going down the inside?
Well, he tried that in the first race, and we saw what happened there this time. He was sort of given the corner, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think Danilo was a little bit more generous than the drivers were earlier on today, but... you know, he's gone wide. Danilo's gone wide, and
he's fallen asleep.
I think that's Damien Passini going.
Yeah,
going
but Maldonado as well having a go as they come up the hill back to Goddard's, and there we saw Zuber.
Yep.
And then Power. And look at all that dust kicking up. Maldonado did not get past. Let's see if any of those come into the pits.
Yeah,
but
Maldonado's in, and so is I think Paganot as well. Paganot is in as well. And Adrian Valles.
Yeah, Valles is in too. So Winkelhock is now leading the race. Everyone gets a turn.
Yep. He's run over a mechanic.
Mechanics?
He's run over a mechanic. Oh, no, dear.
Is he okay?
I don't know.
Hard to tell. You know, that could well have been getting it wrong on the oil on the way in.
Yeah, I think that was Maldonado who actually ran over one of Valles' mechanics. We see
we can't see it from
Giovanni
here.
Tedeschi pulling out, and Christian Montanari as well. I'm just going to try and have a look and see if I can see what happened.
Okay, while you have a look out the window, Karun, to have a look. Winkelhock is really stretching his lead over Zuber at the front of the field. Just looking for them to come to the next thing. He's 2.3 seconds clear with Passini in 3rd. And now, so Zuber's starting to close in a bit. So putting the heat into his tyres is starting to work for Zuber.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to just have a look as we see. I think the thing to watch out for now is the pace of Tristan Gomendi relative to the pace of Marcus Winkelhock and Andy Zuber at the front. Because really, if Gomendi is able to put in some fast laps in clean air, he could potentially get ahead of Winkelhock when Winkelhock makes his pit stop. So,
well, he all but guaranteed himself clean air by coming in after as the safety car withdrew. Someone else just coming in now, and let's see. Just looking down the list, Gomendi is.
Well, look, that's Pavlovich versus Danielson, and who's the other car? I think that's Meneghello. That's Matteo Meneghello going down the inside of Milos Pavlovich. Yep, into turn 1 as we see Miguez.
There's the same team. Lost had one of their mechanics knocked over. And that's Sergio Miguez coming out, so he's further down the order. He was actually 10th when he came into the pits there.
Yeah,
the leader we're looking at the moment is Winkelhock.
Yeah, Danilo Dirani's just been in as well on that same lap. And Winkelhock from Zuber, from Passini. Danielson's in 3rd. We saw Meneghello get ahead of Pavlovich into Redgate on this lap. So Pavlovich is now down into 6th place, and I don't think
fifth place.
Sorry. And we haven't seen the top. No, he's now down at 6th. Meneghello's
let's just check. Okay, here we are. There's the proof of it. Meneghello and then Pavlovich. Then Thomas Koska, Rio Fukuda, behaving better in this race, hasn't jumped at the scenery.
Yep.
Then Madi Banani and car number 12, which off the top of my head is Benarossa for Avalon. So then there's a big gap, 8-second gap back to Adrian Valles and Power. 20 and 23 are under investigation. Damien Passini and Pastor Maldonado. Well, Pastor Maldonado, I think we can understand why. Spinning on the oil. We don't know yet about Passini.
Yeah, we'll see Zuber with a 21.0 on that last lap. Sorry, Winkelhock with a 21.0 on that lap was Zuber 20.6. So Zuber has taken 4 tenths out of Winkelhock on that last lap. You know, I think really the first of the drivers to have stopped appears to be Danilo Dirani to me. No, he stopped. Sorry, that's further back. We're just waiting for the timing screen.
Yeah, just waiting to catch up. Gomendi, 15th, in 13th place.
Valles. Adrian
Valles is in 11th. Good grief, yes. He's 4.5 seconds ahead.
Yeah, we're looking at Valles, Power, Gomendi, Paganot, and Kubica. That's impressive, isn't it?
Yes, we'll see how that shakes out in the next few laps, but he could be sort of running in about the top 6 or 8, which isn't bad from 29th. So you were right. I was the doubting Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, Zuber's looking strong, isn't he? He's just visibly looks a bit more committed than Winkelhock. Winkelhock just looks a little bit ragged. You know, perhaps the car not as well balanced as Zuber is at the moment. But the pace is still, you know, there's not much in it really between the first two. Bassini seems to be a little bit slower, you know, not quite able to match the pace that Winkelhock and Zuber are coming up with at the moment.
Okay, Zuber's just set the fastest lap of the race, but on the previous lap it was set by Adrian Valles out on his new tyres. So there's, that's
Pellegrino.
Yes, your old car, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah.
He's one of the 3 debutants here this weekend. Let's just see what he got wrong. Oh, that bit.
That was up at the top of the hill at Coppice, I think. Just carried a little bit too much speed in there. Ran wide into the gravel. We'll see.
That's life, as it says in the background.
No.
So it may be. So let's just see Valles' pace on that lap. Not quite as fast, but setting sort of mid to low 1 minute 20 laps. And we saw that lap time, that broken in the last race when Gomendi came on and lapped in a 1:18.9. So I expect we'll get down there fairly soon.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, because it's a longer race, they're carrying more fuel on board as well. So, you know, as the race goes on and as the fuel load comes down, you know, possibly we're going to see this pace increase. I'm just trying to look out the window to see if there's any signs to Andy Zuber about whether his need to comes in. But all looks fairly calm down at Carlin Motorsport at the moment.
Oh, and someone else has gone off. That's is that Minani?
Bellarosa.
Bellarosa.
Yeah, that's Bellarosa. You can see.
Let's see the gap. The board to Zuber just says position 2, lap 16. So it doesn't really tell him a lot, but he's brought the gap down to 1.6 seconds now. He's closing in. He took another tenth or so on that lap. But going slightly faster than both was Damien Passini, the new fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, I think Passini's just started to put the hammer down. There's a possibility he's coming in sometime soon as well. I can see, I can see Cram just slowly coming out into the pit lane, so possibly coming in on this lap or maybe the next one. You know, at the front though, Winkelhock and, you know, Draco seems fairly calm. Everything seems, you know, they look like they're in control of it. We see a fastest lap for
Will Power in 11th place. He's the first one into 19s, 1:19.939. So that's the third of a second faster than anybody else. Now, who's he behind? He's behind Adrian Valles. They could yet come out in first and second places.
But they are the effective leaders, aren't they, at the moment? Because they're the only ones who've done the pit stop at the moment. So it all depends really on the pace of Winkelhock and Zuber relative to both of them. I think Winkelhock and Zuber need to start thinking about coming in sometime soon, because slowly, as the newer, sort of fresher tyres on Will Power's and Adrian Valles and Gomendi's cars start coming to their own, you know, they're really going to be lapping quicker than these two, so they need to come in and try and retain track position. And just as I said, I think Zuber's just pulled into the pits. Yep,
so
Zuber's just pulled into the pits on that lap. We'll have a look. He's stopping right underneath our commentary position here. We see Andreas Zuber. Yep. Trevor Carlin there stood there with the lollipop.
Stop brake sign. He hasn't knocked any mechanics over, so that's good. Front wheels being changed. Looks a nice, clean, tidy pit stop, and off he goes.
I'm looking to see down the straight to see if Valles is coming. There's Valles, and there's
Valles past him.
This is going to be close.
There goes Power. Oh, right in front of Power. Right in front of Power as he rejoined. So team. And someone's off. Hold on, we've got 1, 2. I don't believe it. It looks as though, let's see, the cameraman, the director can pick them up. It looks like we've lost both of the Carlin cars. We have a white car with a red flash and a white car with a red flash and black sides.
Oh, look at that, look at that.
Now coming from the right goes Zuber. Right in front of Power. I think Trevor Carlin will be running down to bang their heads together.
No.
Well, I'm afraid...
Unbelievable.
You can't blame Power there, because he basically was going down the straight and suddenly from his left-hand side, from the end of the pit wall, out from the pit exit, came his teammate.
Oh, that is, they've just committed the ultimate crime.
That is the ultimate crime. That is.
I'm looking out, I could see Will Power's engineer Daniele Rossi walking off the pit wall, not happy with that at all.
That is a long face. The way the chin was dragging on the ground told it all in that picture. That is an embarrassment. You have to feel for Will Power. He would have been in a very strong position in this race, which definitely would have helped his championship. Yeah. Bang. Not his fault. He's lost out. Now, we have the previous leader in here, which is Marcus Winkelhock. We'll have to see where he rejoins, but we have a feeling it's going to be behind Adrian Valles.
Well, hang on, we're looking now. I've just seen Rio Fukuda go past now with this. There's Valles. Valles is coming down the straight. We see Winkelhock.
Let's hope they don't do the same. Winkelhock has got his nose ahead as he comes out of the pits. So he is now in the lead, and he's negotiated the corner. Adrian Valles is behind him. So job done for Draco. Well done, the team in yellow.
That's a fantastic break for Winkelhock. He's, you know, that was always going to be close. That's what we've been saying for the last few laps. It was going to be close between him and Valles, and that's a big break for him.
That is. Now let's see how fast he can get his tyres up to temperature, because clearly Valles has had about 5 or 6 laps on his since he came in the lap after the safety car withdrew, and that seemed to be the sensible thing to do. So we will just have to see over the course of this lap. I'm just going to look at the splits. Well, we've still got Passini leading, but he hasn't come into the pits yet. So
we've got Passini at the moment ahead
of Danielson, Betty Minani, and then Rio Fukuda, and then Winkelhock in 5th place ahead of Valles.
Yeah, Valles half a second behind at the moment. So we're following. Directors just picked up our current race leader, Damien Passini. But that's not, as we have another look at the Carlin Motorsport duo. You know, that's a tremendous disappointment for the team. I mean, they were looking strong. They moved a long ways up the grid, and they're looking strong at least for a second and a third. If not, you know, anything better than that. And you know, Trevor Carlin's face just says it all.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about Will Power. He'd fallen to 4th place overall in the championship before this race, but was still sitting quite well. And not that many points. In 6th place was Zuber, but Zuber just did not use his intelligence. Now there's a lot of shouting on the. Trevor Carlin is not at all happy on the pit wall. Can you see who that is he's talking to there? That's
Harvey Spencer, the team manager.
That's Harvey, all right, only see the back of his head.
Yeah, that's Harvey Spencer, the team manager, and also Zuber's engineer alongside Daniele Rossi, who's Will Power's engineer. So,
well, as we know that...
wish we had a microphone down there at this
but in
point.
Racing, communication isn't always what it could be between teams and drivers, and the pit wall and...
Well, you know, it's quite... I mean, I know Zuber and Will Power are actually... They were actually good friends before this. So I don't quite know how the atmosphere is going to be now, but look further up the front. Looks like Meneghello's stopped, so it's Passini ahead of Danielson and Fukuda. Those three effectively are going to drop down for sure because they haven't yet stopped. Winkelhock is effectively the leader at the moment, ahead of Valles. Benani's not stopped, so it's Gomendi is going to be 3rd, ahead of Paganot. Paganot's 4th, and Robert Kubica is going to be in 5th place, my guess is, after the pit stops.
Well, let's just see. We'll know in about 10 seconds, 15 seconds. But as it is at the moment, Passini and Danielson haven't stopped. Fukuda.
No, he's not stopped.
I was going to say.
No, Fukuda's not stopped. The first one who has stopped is Marcus Winkelhock.
Sorry, I misread the screen. I couldn't believe it. That's why I whispered it. I thought, it can't be. He hasn't been in the running. Or he has, but not at the front end. So let's just see as they come round. Kubica is lying 8th on the circuit.
It's quite good being up here.
It's very good. I'm just drawing my breath.
Yeah, so was I. No, it's quite good being up here in the commentary box, isn't it? Because you can see different... I've just spotted Jaap van Lagen looking fairly dejected, stood on the pit wall as well after his first lap disaster along with Eric Salignon.
Yes, that corner hasn't been good for him today, has it? Led the first race and got sort of pushed wide and lost lots of ground, and then didn't even negotiate it the next time.
But, I mean, Passini, to be fair, has had some tremendous pace, hasn't he? He's done a 19.9 on that last lap. And at the moment... oh, look at that. I could see one of the Draco cars going very slowly. Is that Montanari or Winkelhock? Because if it's Marcus Winkelhock, that could be big news.
That could be Mr. Valles' day all over again. So there's Passini. We look at him going out the hill. Yeah,
because that car certainly looked slower than it should be on the straight.
It did.
I'm trying to work out who it was. We see Passini. He's done a 19.9 on that last lap.
I think it's Montanari. Must be Montanari.
Yeah, if we we'll have a quick look at the sectors.
It's not Winkelhock.
Now Winkelhock looks to be going quick enough. We see Passini. There's Fabio Carboni. Sorry, it's all kicking off today, isn't it?
One blue car looks much like another from a rear view going up the hill. And we're looking there at Alex Danielson, who is running right at the sharp end. He has yet to pit, running 2nd for Dams, desperate for a good result. But how good a result it will be depends on how quickly they can get in and out of the pits. Perhaps this lap he's coming up the hill, out to the Melbourne hairpin, going up to Goddard's. Beat the lap and perhaps come in and finally make his pit stop.
Yeah, we see it does look like Winkelhock has pulled away a little bit from Adrian Valles and just saw another car down. I mean, that is Passini. You see the carbon dust from the brakes coming out as we see. That's a quick stop. That
is a very quick stop.
He's managed to get out before.
And then Danielson, we just saw pulling in the background behind him. So let's see as he goes past. There goes Winkelhock. I can't quite see far enough out the window. Winkelhock is in the lead.
Winkelhock's got ahead. Passini's got in between.
He's in the sandwich.
That's a good result for Passini. I didn't think he would get ahead of Valles there, but he's proved me wrong, and it's it's going to be a good result for him if he can hold on. But now the important part for him is to try and get those front tyres up to operating temperature as quick as possible, because Valles knows his tyres are up there. They're ready to go. He's ready to push. He's ready to make a move. And the next 3 or 4 laps are key to see if Valles can get ahead.
He just got I thought he'd just been pushed wide at McLean's, but he hasn't. But bear in mind, he started this race 17th. Shows the jumble.
Yeah, I mean, it all happened at the first corner, though, didn't it? I mean, it was just chaos at the first lap. And I'm just a bit curious to see where Pastor Maldonado's now, after his little spin on the safety. Is down in 9th place. He's probably going to gain a couple when Fukuda stop and Danielson stop.
Yeah. But for now, here we have it. Marcus Winkelhock leading down the hill. Damien Passini, he has now pitted. He's rejoined in 2nd place. And in 3rd place, behind a briefly flaming car, is the winner of the first race today, Adrian Valles. He thinks it's his weekend. It's really coming together. And no, he's not close enough to have a look as they go into Goddard's. But he's just got to see how Passini is going to handle these laps. But now he's just completed 1 flying lap on his tyres. They should be starting to come up to temperature. So he's probably missed his chance to have a go while he's on cold rubber.
You see Gomendi's now up into 4th place ahead of Paganada, and Kubica's in 6th. Maldonado is 7th. Sorry, I did him a bit of an injustice there. He's not as far down as I thought.
You were right at the time. He gained a few places.
And
stop sequence.
I mean, it's settled down a little bit now. I think Passini's managed to get the break now out of Valles to get himself out of trouble. Do you think Passini can have a go at Winkelhock? Do you think he's going to be fast enough?
Not on the pace of their respective paces in the first race. I mean, Winkelhock was certainly faster and certainly went better and better as the race ran on into its concluding laps. But then again, Passini was, sort of stuck in traffic in that one. So Felix Portero is down into the 18.9s, which is as fast as Gomendi went in the first race. But Felix is running.
Well, he lost a few laps. So he lost a few laps, didn't he, when he had some sort of a problem. So he's just going out there to try and get fastest lap.
18.911, so that's actually faster than Tristan managed in the first race. So now the order's settling down with Winkelhock ahead of Passini, 1 second between them, half of a second back to Adrian Valles in 3rd place, and then an 8-second gap to Tristan Gomendi. But just watch, those times are going to come down from Gomendi. I'm sure he's going to start pulling them in, but 8 seconds, I'd say that's a bit too much for him to pull back in 8 laps.
Yeah, I mean, Gomendi, it's not like he doesn't seem to have the staggering pace that he had in race 1. He was in race 1, he was just bang, 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 lap after lap in the low 19s or the high 18s. At the moment, he's just driving around the same speed as everyone else. We see a great fight going on just ahead of us.
Yes, very close.
Further down the field.
Pavlovich, Fleming, Miguez, and Enighello and Koska. They're all in there. 5-way battle.
Yep.
5-way battle.
But our director's sticking with the race leaders at the moment. We see Winkelhock, Passini, and Valles turning into Coppice. They don't really seem to be too worried about making a move on each other. They're quite happy. I think they're all quite settled down in the place where they are at the moment, just to drive around and collect the points that they're going to get.
Yeah, well, they know they're not going to be attacked from behind because, as we said, Tristan Gomendi is 8 seconds behind, so he's sort of off their radar. They've just got to look. But in fact, that battle for from behind Danielson with Pavlovich, Fleming, etc., that's where the overtaking is going to be taking place.
Oh, that's Kotska. That's Thomas Kotska. But I just seen someone else go off in the gravel as well.
Looks like they clipped him.
That's Tedeschi. Giovanni Tedeschi and Kotska. Yeah,
they were running down in about sort of.
Yeah, we'll see Kotska spinning back. That's not the safest way to be doing a half spin, is it?
Not
blind brow at Coppice.
Over the ridge.
Yeah. Oof. So Thomas is a bit lucky he got away with that one, I think.
Yeah, I actually thought the cars touched. I thought I saw a flash of something come off as the other one went past. But anyhow, no such troubles for Marcus Winkelhock at the front. He's stretched his lead by about half a second on that lap, and maybe Passini is now falling into the grasp of Valles, who chases him up the hill, right, sort of left and then right through McLean's, and then accelerating up to the next corner, which of course is Coppice, the highest point on the course, where we just saw Thomas Koska have his little gyration and then the rather scary rejoining gyration.
Yeah. You see, Winkelhock's he's got the break, hasn't he? That's enough for him now. I think Marcus has done so much racing in his career. He's done so many years of Formula 3, and he's even been out in the DTM. He's tremendously experienced, knows how to run at the front, knows how to win races. He knows that all he has to do now is just read the laps off and score a second win of the season.
Well, he also should be very, very good on his tyres, because particularly when he was racing in the DTM, you had to treat your tyres right. Those cars used to consume tyres like they were going out of fashion. So the ability to nurse your rubber is clearly a lesson that he's learned. And let's see, crossing the finish line, he just eased out his gap to 1.7 seconds, less than half a second from second to third place. The battle we see going through Redgate with Adrian Baez, the winner of the first race today, steering clear of that patch of mud and dirt that's been thrown onto the circuit with, well, it's hard to know which of the accidents, because there's certainly been plenty, Karun.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a really action-packed race. I've quite enjoyed it. The first half of the race has just been, until the pit stop, was so much going on. Was always, it was all kicking off there, especially with the safety car coming out early on. It changed the strategy quite a bit.
It also made, when the order was being jumbled by the pit stops, and someone suddenly was near the top of the screen, you thought, well, they weren't running near the top, but they could have been.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It certainly made our life a bit difficult, but now now it's all sort of settled down a bit, I think. It's just so hard to overtake in cars at this level of racing, because the drivers are all equally good. They're so evenly matched. The teams, you've got fantastic race teams up and down this pit lane, all strong, experienced teams. If anything, among the cream of Europe, in terms of race teams and engineers. So it's, you're looking at very evenly matched cars which are highly aerodynamic, and it's the same Formula 1 problem. It's just so difficult to follow cars in the high-speed corner.
Well, we're just watching Adrian Baez trying to do that. Well, that was through a very low-speed corner, but obviously he wants a good drag and get into the back of Passini as he comes down the hill into Redgate, but it's not going to happen this lap. And I've just glanced at the screen and see, we mentioned earlier that Felix Portero, who's several laps down, is setting fastest laps. He's just taken another half second off. He's down to 1 minute 18.4s. And just for your reference, that's 1.5 seconds faster than the front three in the race. But, we're just seeing Jeremy, that's
Bella
Rosa running away from having beached his car somewhere narrow. It looks as though that's...
No, the caption's wrong, though. That is, I'm sure a caption will correct itself soon in a second and find out that is indeed Ivan Bellarosa at Redgate, who's had a little spin. But coming back to Portero, he's done an 18.4 on that last lap, which is, I believe, the fastest lap that we've had all weekend.
It is, yeah.
So the circuit has certainly got
yeah, it's a fraction faster than Tristan Gomendi managed on Friday in gloriously sunny conditions. So all is quiet in the pit lane. I can see from my window, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars beached in the gravel down there at Redgate at various points. And I dare say there's some more behind the trees. I think Ryan Sharp is just around the corner out there as well. So half the field, I thought I saw a puff of smoke out of the back of Winkelhock's car there, but it was probably a spot of braking as he came over the rise.
But grandstand tickets at Redgate are going to be expensive for next year's race.
I think they will be. Certainly an awful lot happening. It always does at Redgate. It's one of those corners. The track's very wide, but it just tightens.
And also, I think the preceding 2 corners are sort of tight and twisty hairpins.
Yeah, and we just had
that's a Pellegrino again.
He likes that corner.
Yeah.
He's determined to get it right, isn't he? He'll keep trying.
It's almost like an action replay of that.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I began to question.
Oh.
It's a big old gravel bed there, isn't it? He's going to see the Donington collection, isn't he? It's just behind that fence.
Yeah, I mean it's. Pellegrino's been thrown in at the deep end. He did 1 day of testing at the end of last year, I think, in the old Nissan car, and he's just come straight in here, no testing, had to learn a new circuit.
Yeah, with Friday being a washout. Sorry, yesterday being a washout.
Yeah, so he's really been thrown in at the deep end, and they're not easy cars to drive, and it's a competitive field you're driving against.
Yeah.
So it's not an ideal situation.
But looking at Winkelhock, he's driving very smoothly, very calmly. He's sort of got it under control.
Yeah, let's have a little look at the rookies, because just speaking about Pellegrino coming in straight away, I mean, Fabio Carboni in the same situation, never driven the car, and straight in there, and he's actually up into 8th place. And if I remember correctly, Fabio, I think he was second here to Heikki Kovalainen back in 2002 in British Formula 3. So he does like the circuit.
Now you're showing off.
No, I was in the same race, that's how I know. But he's been around here quite a bit. He's done quite a few days, so he knows the circuit. I think same with Danilo Dirani. We see he's in 14th place. He should be a little bit disappointed, I think, with that, because he started well up the grid in 6th and was running strong was running the top 5 for the first stint before the pit stop. So I think Danilo would be a little bit disappointed with that.
Fabio started back in 18th place, so he has done well. But again, as we said on those early laps, keep out of trouble. Not that you can dictate where that's going to happen, because it was happening everywhere. But he's driven a very, very mature race. I'm just comparing his times with those ahead. He's closing in on Pastor Maldonado.
I think just as I said that, Dirani may have actually gone off.
As you said that, you're right. I'm going to have another look out the window. They haven't got all the cars in the gravel bed there yet. In fact, I can't see him.
No, he's gone off at turn 8, Bruce. I don't quite know which one that is. Yeah, but we'll have a look.
Yellow flag at turn 1, of course. I can see it being waved, and that's just because they wave yellow flags there once you've got half a dozen cars.
Yeah, I mean, just as I was saying about Durrani, I think but he should be happy with what he achieved this weekend. I think yes, he didn't quite manage to have the races that he wanted to have possibly, but what he achieved in qualifying yesterday and his pace this morning, the speed, forgetting, irrespective of the result, his speed was quick enough.
Yeah, certainly something to take to the next round at Estoril and to the final round at Monza. So good learning process.
And these are drivers who are potentially looking to come back for a full season next year. And this is something that I did at the end of the last year. I went and joined my teammate, my friend Narayan Karthikeyan at RC Motorsport for the last 4 races of last year. And it was a good learning experience. It just teaches you a little bit, and it gives you a taste of what you're in for when you come back. So I think it's good that drivers like Fabio and Durrani and Pellegrino have had a chance to do a couple of races. So they know where they're going to stack up when they come back.
Well, talking about Carboni, he's closed. He's taken another half second as near as of Pastor Maldonado, so he's closing in on 7th place. He's got 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I mean, he's not far behind either, is he? He's only half a second behind Maldonado. Maldonado, the early leader, the fortunate early leader, he's back where he started in 7th place.
Yes, so much has happened in this race. It's easy to forget that. But, looking at the screens there as try. Adrian Valles is still pushing behind Damien Passini, but he is closer, but you haven't got many more goes at that corner, Adrian.
Yeah, I mean, we can see further back in the background, you can see Fleming chasing behind Danielson, isn't it? And then Miguez, Meneghello, Pavlovich, they're all absolutely nose to tail as Marcus Winkelhock comes across the line to start the final lap of this race.
Indeed, he does. He's one of 7 drivers to have won races this year. Sorry, 8 now, of course, after Adrian Valles this morning, and he is going for win number 2, which should push him up the table. He's currently lying 5th overall, so he will gain a few points. But the driver we haven't mentioned a great deal during this race is in 6th place. That's Robert Kubica, championship leader, runaway championship leader. I'm slightly scared as I look at you. I think I might have to wait until they put the points up on the screen after the race. It could be quite close. He is quite close to clinching the championship. But for now, the man of the moment is Marcus Winkelhock. He's got the gap he needs as they run down to the chicane, going into the Grand Prix loop for the final time. Damien Passini follows him through, 1.2 seconds behind, and right behind him is Adrian Valles, the Spanish driver who won the first race today. Down they go, down the hill, over the brow, down to that bottom corner. That was about the greasiest point on the circuit when the rain was flowing. Yes, it wasn't falling, it was flowing in great sheets across the circuit. And back up the hill, hard acceleration up to Goddard's. This, of course, where the oil went down on the track.
He's having
a look now. I'm just teasing you. Dude, my word. When I say done it, I don't mean pulled off the overtaking manoeuvre. It's just, well, you have to feel sorry for Damien Passini there.
So Winkelhock wins from Valles. I wonder if Passini got going. I'm trying to look out the window to see if Passini managed to get going again.
Yes, he has. He's crossed the finish line.
He has.
Yeah, he's limped past. He's just going down to the first corner there. And then behind them, Gomindi Pagano very close behind him. And Robert Kubica, he'll be very happy. 29th to start, gained 23 places and he finished 6th. Pastor Maldonado managed to hold off Fabio Carboni, 7th and 8th, just waiting. Bit of a gap. Very happy Winkelhock there. And then 9th and 10th, Alex Danielson just holding off Colin Fleming and Kelso Miguel.
It's going to be a popular win for Winkelhock. I think the Winkelhock name carries a lot of weight here in Great Britain after his uncle's feats in the British touring cars.
And his late father's feats. It's just fantastic to see Manfred's helmet still, that helmet design carrying on through Marcus, and Manfred would be very proud because, of course, I remember seeing him win here in Formula 2 races with the BMW team, and a very, very illustrious family in motor racing.
And Valles, he's got a good haul of points from today, hasn't he?
He certainly has. He's picked up 25 points this weekend.
And that's a tremendous bonus for him to finish, with ahead of Gomendi and, with Power not scoring.
And here's that move again. He sort of looked as though he's going to try, then he looked as though he wasn't, and then he sort of couldn't really pull out, but I think he could have tried.
To be fair to Vias, I think Passini really left the window open a bit more than he should have.
I agree.
You know, I think he should have realised last lap. You know, Vias is going to have a go. Last lap, last corner, desperate move. You know, Passini should have covered it a little bit more than he did. You know, so he opened the door a little bit, and Vias didn't need a second invitation. You know, he stuck the nose in there. And there was no stopping him after that.
Well, the good thing is they both managed to finish, though. It'd be very galling to get to the end of the final lap, just one corner to go, and not come away with any points after driving hard. And certainly that was a race of an awful lot of incidents. Just looking out of our window, the Draco Racing pit wall is empty, because I know where they've gone. They've all gone running down to greet their driver when he comes into the pit lane. And it's towards the pit exit is where the cars are pulled into their parc ferme in positions 1, 2 and 3, and the rest are flagged off around the corner. And they're already starting an imaginary, well, being the mechanic, he probably wants the Italian national anthem, but for Marcus, yes, raising both fists to the team boss as he comes past. Yes, you know where to park. Go and stick it down under the podium. He today, sponsored by Boss, is the boss. And Adrian Vias, very happy. Just looking down to see any damage, a little bit of damage to the front wing of Passini, and I can't see any rubbing marks on the side, but they basically got away with that. But in fact, apart from Marcus, the driver who's probably happiest of all is the one who's also just gone in behind them, which is Robert Kubica. He picked up 5 points in that race, which will be very important to him.
Kubica has had a productive weekend, I think you can call it. You know, 3rd in race 1, you know, 6th in race 2, healthy helping of points. Power not finishing, Gomendi not scoring in race 1, apart from the point for fastest lap. And it's just Vias now. But overall, I think Kubica's taken one large step closer to the championship. We see 132 points against 88. We're looking at a 44-point lead.
44 points, and there are 60 points up for grabs. So he's just got to get a couple of decent enough finishes.
Yep.
And hope that Adrian Vias doesn't walk away with every one of the remaining four races in, as we say, Estoril, and then the finals in Monza. So perhaps the person who's most upset of all is Will Power. You could say he didn't see that coming, because certainly his teammate flashed out of the side of the pit exit. Did Andreas Subert pretty much straight into his path. Yeah, so words will be had in the Carlin truck this evening.
Yeah, I think that was unfortunate for Will. You know, he's looking strong, sitting behind Marcus, and you know, you could almost see his head sort of looking to the left, saying, "Oh, where did that car come from?"
Yes.
You know, really quite unfortunate for him.
But it's a hard one, isn't it? Because at that stage, Zuber was thinking, I could get a really good result here, and very quick pit stop, as good as you can, and then accelerate hard. But you've got to look in your mirrors as you come out. I know he was slightly ahead, but
yeah. I mean, you know, with the pit lane here at Donington, it's not the easiest place to look at cars coming up, because they literally come up right alongside you. And the pit lane exits straight into Redgate Corner. I've often wondered why the pit lane just didn't go all the way around past Redgate and join going down the Crater curves, which should probably be a safer and easier way to avoid situations like that.
They'd have to dig it under the rest of the track, though, wouldn't it? Because you think how many cars just go off at Redgate.
Well, that is true.
You'd be picked off like someone out hunting. Now we're just waiting for the drivers to come up for the second podium for the World Series by Renault. It's been a very, very eventful afternoon, enjoyed by a great crowd here at Donington Park. The weather's been lousy yesterday, but even then people were standing out there all day.
And I mean, today, I had a few people complain to me after the first stage this morning, saying, you know, that was a bit dull, wasn't it? It was just a procession. But must say, this afternoon more than made up for that.
So. I think the series, you know, a lot of people coming here to racing for the first time. This series will have won a lot of fans this afternoon, because it really was a very, very interesting race. But the driver.
It's good to see Passini and Vias, you know, shake of the hands.
Yes.
Sort of no hard feelings after the last corner. I think they accepted it was a bit of a racing incident, and you see Marcus. You know,
yeah, Marcus he looks so like his father, doesn't he? There is a definite Winkelhock look there. But, you know, I think they maybe wouldn't have been quite so friendly, Vias and Passini, if they both ended up off the track there and not got anything. But they've still come away with a good dose of points. They didn't lose anything, really.
That was actually almost a replay of Danny Watson PK last year, remember, in Formula 3. It was just the same thing. Last lap, last corner, second and third place, funnily enough. But anyway, coming back to today, I think you see. And Draco should be pleased with that. It's their third win as a team as well, and Marcus just looks absolutely.
He does, doesn't he?
It's
good to see. But also, that's the first visit to the podium this year for Damien Passini. He's had a 4th and a 5th, but that will sort of help him move up. But there's such a difference, isn't there? Finishing 4th, you don't get the glory of going up there, but finishing 3rd, you know, it's not just being in the photo and spraying the champagne. The champagne's a release, but it is a mark for your team as well. It gives them great satisfaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vaez' second pot for the afternoon, or for the day's work rather.
So he goes. He scored in every race bar one this season. He's still going, so that's very impressive. He's certainly on the move, but Kubica is just edging that little bit closer to the title.
Well, that's a problem for Vaez, isn't it? Kubica has just been just as consistent, but scored more points every time. So, and Winkelhock's had a bit of an up and down season. I think he's had some tremendous highs with the win at Le Mans and then today, but also some non-scores, I think.
It has been a bit patchy, but now we're just looking at the screen at Damien Passini. Third place. Just looking at that lap time, though, it's 1.5 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race, which Portero was knocking off lap after lap towards the end. But he was long out of the race. But anyhow, it's Marcus Winkelhock's day.
Yeah, I mean, to run in free air makes a significant difference to absolute lap time. So big bonus there. We see the champagne sprays finally. Don't think they really wanted to get wet before race 2, but now it's...
yes, it's job done.
Yeah.
3 weeks to the next race.